Hello everyone. What you see up on the screen here today is Scribus. I'm going to just do a quick little demo with Scribus um, to show you what it's all about. Maybe do more demos later on, but right now this is just a basic overview. What Scribus is a desktop publishing program, somewhat like InDesign, possibly even Quark Express. I'm not sure because I don't have any experience with Quark Express, or somewhat maybe like Microsoft Publisher. Again, I don't have very much experience with that. I do have some experience with InDesign though, and that's what I can equate it to. You can get Scribus for free. Just Google for it, and the latest version that's stable right now is 1.4.5. So when you start it, you're going to be presented with this screen here. And for today's little demo, I'm just going to use single page, and you're going to notice that these are going to be set up differently than when you first download the program and open it, and I'll show you where to go to deal with that. One thing I do want to talk about here is your margins. Make sure that your margins are something that your printer, if you're going to print this at home, can do, because otherwise, you're going to have collisions, because the print head can't go that far for whatever reason. So just be careful with that. And also on bleeds, what a bleed is an area that extends outside of your page that you use to put a graphic on. So that way, if you was to make, for example, something on a wider piece of media than what you normally need for your final result, and you want to make sure when you crop it down to the end size that you don't have any white edges, you would use a bleed to put your graphic in, so that way when the crop marks are put in, you crop the media down, it will actually have edge to edge color or graphic or whatever you have. So that's roughly what a bleed is, and that's what you would use it for. On today's thing, I could use a bleed, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to more precisely set something if it doesn't play nice. Pardon me. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, I do have dialogues open here that will not be open when you first hit open up Scribus. And the ones I would recommend you have open quite a bit of the time is going to be your properties little window here and your line to distribute. You can get to both of those by clicking on the when used menu item and going down and choosing them from here. Also, you notice that my tools are sitting on the left hand side. When you first open Scribus, they're going to be at the top here along with your new, open, save dialogues up here. And I put them down here because I'm used to, that's how InDesign had them, and that's how a lot of my other programs have the toolbars over here. So I just kind of grab these little little dots or notches here and just kind of dragged it into place. Now when the document opens, you got your rulers up at top and on the side. The red area around here is your document size right here, which in my case is a letter size paper. And inside of that, you notice we've got this blue box here. That's your margins. Now, if you had to bleed, you'll have another box on the outside showing your bleed area, which I don't have. Now, I did say that when we started this, that you would have different document properties. Well, what you need to do is you need to go into, I believe it's under Edit. Nope, it is not under Edit. It is under File and Preferences. First of all, choose your language and choose, however you want Scribus to look as a theme. You get a couple of themes in here you can check out. I like the clear looks. Then you go under Document. Now this is where it sets the default document sizes and everything. So what you would do is, like for example, for a single page, I got set for letter, portrait, so on and so forth. Also, it came up like 0.55555 or some other weird margin. I went ahead and rounded it down to 5. You can turn on or off autosave and everything else, and this is where you set up your documents. Now if you work on another set of documents a lot more, like for example, one of my printers can do 13 by 19, you can set up a 13 by 19 preset, and whenever you open Scribus and start a single page, for example, it'll bring that up. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and get out of here, and let's talk about my little project. My project is I'm going to take and put in some placeholder text. Now, for Scribus, as of this communication, it gets basically text from the Bram Stoker's novel of Dracula, which, if you've ever read it, has a lot of places in there that makes it look like letters that was written between Jonathan Harker, which is the main character of the story, besides good old Dracula there, and his fiancee Mina. And I'm going to basically use Scribus to create like a old timey looking letter, you know, this way. Yes, you can do the same thing with Inkscape or GIMP or even the commercial available products like CorelDRAW and Photoshop and Illustrator. However, this is, don't cost you anything besides your time to learn how to use it, and hopefully this video will help you with that. So what I'm going to do now is just introduce a few of the tools we need. Over here on the toolbar, we're going to be needing this top white arrow here, which is your selector. Right below it, it's a text frame, and below it, we're going to need an image frame. Now, if you've never done desktop design before with any program, the concept of frames may be kind of strange. And just think of it this way: think of your document as like a large container, if you're mechanically inclined, like a toolbox. If you are around the house, maybe like a cupboard or a closet. And when you put in a frame, you're basically putting in a smaller container to put inside of the larger one. For example, like in a closet, you might have a storage container for supplies, cleaning supplies or things like that. And that's basically once you label that container cleaning supplies, okay, cleaning supplies go in there. Get rid of that little message. Cleaning supplies go in there, and other things go in different containers, and that's what this does in essence. So if I put it in a text frame, which is basically a container, I'm going to put text in there. If I put in an image frame, that's what goes in there as an image. Now you can switch them, you can convert them, but that's for a later tutorial. I'm just showing you the basics right now just to get going with this, and if this takes off well or I get enough comments about it, we'll go and do some deeper in-depth tutorials about this. So let's go ahead and get started here. First thing I'm going to need to do is draw a text frame. So I'm going to click on that tool, and it comes up with a little arrows, and I'm going to try to get as close as I can to these margins. Looks like I'm dead on right there. And if you notice, I'm not scrolling with the wheel, so I need to kind of stop and grab the little handle here. Just like with any other program, you could just drag it to the size you need. Okay. Now, I did say earlier, talk about bleeds and things. If something ain't precisely set, where can we fix that problem? Well, if we come over here to the properties bar with this selected, make sure it's selected, you should just see little handles around it. You'll see something here called geometry. Well, the first two right here is your X and Y position, and that's relative to what you have selected down here in your base point. Notice how the upper left is selected? That means that's going to the upper left of the box. So right now it's a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. So that's exactly where I want it. I want it 1/2 inch down, 1/2 inch over. So that's exactly where we want it. Now the width is wrong because I know with 8.5 with 1/2 inch subtract from each side, it's 7.5 exactly, and I got a little bit over. So you just highlight the box, type in what you need, and you can just tab and it will go down. Same thing with the height. The height ain't quite right. Well, since I know the the height, sorry, is 11, and you take off an inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, that's 10 inches exact. So go here and then type that in. You can just hit enter or return. And now if you look, this is exactly within my margins, which is what I was needing. So now what we're going to do with this selected is I'm going to put in some placeholder text. Now in Scribus, there's different ways you can do this. The first way, you could just right click and say get sample text, which shows up in the contextual menu, or you can go to insert and sample text. Either way will bring up this dialog. I'm going to hit English because that's what I understand. And you can see author Bram Stoker. It should tell you already that's going to be probably Dracula. And I'm going to bring in about 12 paragraphs, and random is fine. I'm going to click OK, and all of a sudden my box is filled with text. Okay, this will let me go ahead and start my project. Now, looking at that doesn't look like something that somebody back in that era when the book was written and was implied would probably write. That's just not even close. So I've already chosen a font. Now, if you have Microsoft Office installed, you'll have this font. If not, you can choose something similar. And I'm going to use this for the purposes of demonstration. I'm going to change all this text into this font. Now, if you don't go through here and make local edits called a character style or anything like that, you can just select the box, go over to your properties docker, click on text, then click on your little drop down here, and I'm going to look for one that I know ships with Office called Edwardian Script ITC, and boom, all everything that was in there is now written like it was written by hand. Now I'm going to excuse me, increase the font size to make it look somewhat better. Now, you'll notice over here I got this little red X here. That means it's overset or overflowing text. I'll get into that into another demo, but I'm trying to keep this as short and sweet as I can. Basically, what it means is that there's more text than what this container can handle. It's like, for example, turning on the water on a sink or bathtub and you walk away for a while. If the overflows of the drain or the and everything are clogged up, it's just going to overflow and hit the floor. It's going to go to the next size container it can find, which usually is your floor in that instance. But in here, you can actually put into another frame. It's like, okay, oops, I forgot to shut the water off. I run in there with a mop bucket, and turn the valves off. Hey, there's where the excess water will go. So, but later on, we might do a multi-page type document that I'll actually show linking of the frames, and it will flow from one frame to another, which will keep everything nice and neat. And it's used a lot like in magazines and other longer documents than what I have here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually justify this. So it's written left to right and everything else. Now I'm going to do some changes to this in just a second. But I'm also going to turn on the optical margins to make it look a little better too. There we go. We're starting to look a little better here. Alright, let's see here. Now in the advanced settings, I'm going to change some things. This is your, let's see, is this tracking? Yes, this is tracking. Differences in terminology here. When you hear the word kerning and tracking, they're not interchangeable. They mean two different things. Kerning means changing the letter space in between two letters. Okay, tracking changes the space between two words. So be careful of how you use those terminologies, because that can probably get you in a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to actually add a little bit more what they call positive tracking here, because I want these words to be a little bit further apart, because when you usually write by hand, unless you don't have any visual references or anything like that, you're going to be scrunched up and it looks really, really funky and weird. So we got that set up. We're good to go on that. Let's see, is there anything else I can do here? Nope, I'm going to go into a paragraph style here in just a minute, looks like. But actually what I can do is I can put in some line spacing here, but I'm going to leave that alone. Alright, so we got a good start here with this. Like I said before, we're probably going to need to do a accidentally got into that box and changed my tracking there we go. Baseline shift, we don't need any of that, and I don't need to distort these characters because that's just not what we need to be doing. I mean, you can if you need to. If your document says you need to do that, then yeah, by all means, change it. But if you notice here, there's a lot of options here. So we will get into some of these we won't. But anyways, what we're going to do here is we got this started. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in a picture to go behind this, and what I'm using is a picture texture that I've Googled, and I made sure that I checked for the license was good for me to do this with. Just do a search and make sure you find something that you are licensed to use. And this one I am, because it says free for non-commercial use and the like. And because I'm only using this for my purposes here of demonstration, I'm fine with doing this, and I can modify it if I need to, which I will in a second. So if you notice on the left hand bar, I went ahead and selected the image frame, and then I'm dropping that down. It shows up as a big transparent X on here. And again, you can see I've not gotten it right. And again, I want to align it to the same place on the page as everything, on the top corner here. But yeah, at the very top corner is at 0 and 0. If you see the little red chasers here on the rulers. So I go to 0 and 0. That's where it should be. But if you look here, according to the top edge of that frame that's still selected, I'm not there. So I'm going to go 0, enter. Go down here and change this to 0, enter. Okay, the width is wrong. It's a little wider, so I'm going to go 8.5, which I know is how wide my document is. And then the height should be 11. Hit enter. And now I positioned that box exactly where I needed it. And it's also all the way down to the bottom and to the edges of the page. I'm going to right click here, or you can double click in this frame once it's selected, and I'm going to say get image. Now I recommend, if you're starting a project like this, have all your assets, photos, text, whatever you're going to put into one folder, so you don't have to go searching for it as much. Here's my texture paper right here. I'm just going to say OK, bring it in. Alright, now I need to go to my image tab, which will let me have control of the images. And as you can see, it's nowhere close to filling up the box. So you can try to do scale to frame size, but as you see, this is not correct. And I'm going to have white spaces and everything else. But what you can do is you can come over to free scaling and start adjusting these like I'm doing right now. And what I'm doing is I'm actually stretching that inside the frame, so that way it fits all the way, left, right, up, and down. Now that I've gotten that, whoop, I don't want to mess with that too much. I accidentally did. There we go. Now, this little button here, image effects, what this will allow you to do is on any graphic that you bring in, you could do some basic touch-ups to it. Like, for example, this has already got enough color in it, but maybe the brightness, because I want to make it look older, I might want to change that. So you select your effect here, hit the little double arrow over here to put it into the in-use category. Then you get your sliders over here that you can adjust it. So I'm going to back it down to about negative 21 or so and say OK. And notice how it makes it darker. So that looks a little bit more older, in my opinion. It takes off some of that glare that was on here. Now the problem is covering up all of our text. So what we need to do is go back up to position here, and then you got level with your the image box selected. You can bring it down to a lower level, which in this case I just click the arrows. You can also do it through the through a menu up here to do the same thing, but I just kind of use it right here because it's just simple. And as you notice, now it's looking more and more like, hey, like we actually, like it was a handwritten letter from that time. But it's a little hard to read, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the text thing by clicking on the text frame and going back in here, and I'm going to actually increase this a little bit. Alright. Again, this isn't made to be pretty or actually a project I would, kick out the door, but I'm just trying to show what you can and cannot do with this program, just as a quick little demo. Now we need to correct, stuff in here for like the space after paragraphs and things. So, well, I'm going to take some notes here. It's Edwardian script 22. Okay, and I'm going to have some of that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce something real quick called a style. And you want to use styles in this program because it makes it simple to do corrections later on. And since I'm doing the whole thing, I'm going to use a paragraph style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on default paragraph style. I'm going to say clone. That'll be fine. Okay, character. Okay, when you do a paragraph style, your character is where you're going to have your font. So we need to go back to Edwardian script. Okay, and then we're going to. There's only one way for that, and this is up to 22. Whoops, went a little far, didn't I? Okay, is this tracking? Okay, yep. 2, so it shouldn't look different. You can choose your colors here. Properties, see, and this is what I'm looking for right here is distances and alignment. I want space below the paragraphs, and I want to bring that up to, we'll try about 16 points. We'll say apply. Whoops, I need to name it. Always name your paragraph styles, folks. Apply, and then done. Alright, now we got that there. I'll just keep this open. We select this, go back down to our text here, and if you notice, we'll go to styles and settings, it says there's no style. We could go down here and choose letter now, and look what happened. I mean, that it preserved everything that we had already set here from earlier, just getting it set up. But if you notice, because I added space after each paragraph or each new line return, I now got spaces here without having to hit the enter key or, return whatever is on your keyboard. So that really quickly, changed the style. And the reason why you want to do a paragraph style, and especially if you have different things going on in your document, is I can always go back into letter here and say edit this, okay? And now I can change things like, for example, I can put in tabs, I can change the maximum space width, glyph extensions, the minimum space width. I can say, okay, I'm going to bring this down to about 94% and apply it, and then you'll see the text change a little bit over here. And also the things you could do is like we could do both sides optical margin and keep clicking apply as you make a change. But we go over to character style and say, like, for example, we wanted it to be something other than black. Out of your color palette, you can choose a different color. We'll say green. This will be ugly, but I'm not going to keep it here. But see, I can apply it, and everything changed that had that style. So this makes it quick and easy to fix that problem. But I'm going to change it back from green to black. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click done here. Go ahead and kill our style manager. Alright, so there's basically our project now. Yeah, it's not very pretty and it does get kind of lost, but again, I'm just doing this as a quick demonstration. If you want to see what this looks like without doing a print preview, if you go down at the very bottom here to the right hand side, there is an eyeball here you can click, and what it does is it hides all the margins and the frames, and now you can see what this will look like. Turn it back on, and you can see where everything is now sitting. The line distribute panel, we haven't touched that, but I recommend you keep it open because you can align and distribute things according to different things like selections, page, margins, and guides. So that's actually very awesome to have open and around, especially if you got a very complex layout, which we may get into later. Now, the thing is we want to, show off our work. I don't really want to show this off, but again, it was just demonstrational. What we can do is we can always save our work. If we click the little save button here, this will actually save it into the Scribus format, so you can always come back in and change it later or modify it or however you need. Of course, print will print it. Now, print preview will, do a little verifier, pre-flight verifier. And what pre-flighting is, for example, if you're going to take this to a commercial printer to print and they give you what they expect to see to make the print job work right with their printing equipment, it will use that data that you input in to make sure that the document will print correctly. So there'll be no hidden surprises, and that's what you always want to do. Since I'm just using home equipment, pretty much, I don't have any collision errors with my margins or anything like that, so I'm not going to worry about any of this because I'm actually going to do a PDF. But you can put in the profiles here for that. Right now it's telling me I got overflow, which I knew about. That's fine. So I'm cool with that. Check again. That's fine. Master pages. See, we don't have any. See, we can kill that. So we're just going to say print preview again. Okay, yes, I know there's a problem. No problem here, But you can always, look here and see where the problems are lying, and we already know that it's right there. And that's fine. It's not letting me go any further than that, but normally you can get a print preview. Now, you can save as a PDF here. I'm going to say ignore the errors because I already know there's errors here. Now, when I first recorded this, this is where it messed me up. You can choose which technology will work best for you and your printer, whether it's you're printing it at home or you're sending it off to be printed. I'm going to use 6. Binding, that tells, okay, for example, if you're going to make a book or like a manual or something like that, where do you want the binding mark or where the spine of the book or your document to be. Normally it's left margin, but you can change that if you need to. 300 dpi here is good. You don't want to really change that. Compressed text and vector graphics. You can use automatic if you want, or if you really are a stickler, like if it's going to be designed to be printed out like a big poster, then you might want to choose something different here. But for demonstration, I'm leaving this alone. Pardon me. The maximum image resolution is this. Now, I do know from using this before, there's something going on with the converter for Scribus with this font. That if I was to leave it right now, and I'll go ahead and do it. I'm just going to have it as document 1 up here. That's fine. But what you do is you change this, type in a different name, choose where you want it, and you can click OK here. But if I leave this as it is right now and say save this document, is doing its little thing. We minimize Scribus here. We'll go over here and find our document and open it up. That looks nothing like what we laid out, does it, folks? It is, I mean, it's trying, but no, not really. It's not even close, so we'll just trash that one. Okay, and I'll show you how to fix that with certain fonts that you may run into. Run this again. Okay, but this time when you go to fonts and say, instead of saying and to embed them, run it down to outline. Okay, move this down to outline. And the point I'm trying to get here is don't always assume that you got a font in the system that the PDF rendering software is going to work perfect. Always check your work. So I'm going to say outline it. I'm going to say save. We're going to try this again. We'll minimize it. The document's created. Right here, we'll click on it. And look, because I did a different feature here, or a different selection, now it looks exactly as I intended. It looks exactly like it does in Scribus. So the moral of the story here with Scribus, I mean, it's a pretty nice program, but always with fonts, first of all, make sure that you have the right to distribute the font. Okay, always check your font licensing. The second thing is always check the output before you send it off. Now, once you've got something set, say like if I was going to do a lot of old-time letters and I was going to save this as a template, then I would, basically know to set up the a profile for my PDF that says, look, for this font, always outline it. Do not try to embed it because it breaks the layout bad. So, anyways, that's what you need to take out of here is always test it, check it, make sure everything's good. But anyways, folks, sorry about the little coughing and everything else. Sounds like I might be getting a little under the weather. I'm hoping not, but anyways, that was just like a quick little overview. Again, if this goes over well, I'll do more of the videos on this program because it is quite powerful. And if you want something that's a little bit more precise than like Inkscape to lay out a book or a document or something like that, then definitely give Scribus a try because if you're coming over from InDesign but you don't want to spend the high money for InDesign, it could be a good alternative, but there's a lot of things that InDesign does that so far Scribus can't. But to get you going, hey, it's a very good deal in my opinion. It just takes time to learn like anything else. Alright folks, until next time.